Hey, what's up, guys? Today I'm gonna be doing something a little bit different. I'm gonna be doing an edit with me, which is basically I edit photos and I take you through my basic walkthrough of how I would edit a photo. So let's start with this one. This one already has a few edits on it. I'm just kind of continuing it. My edits that I already have on it are currently, I got a tone curve, I got color grading, and for the most part, I think that's it. I got it. I got it cropped, and nothing else really. I don't got any mask on it yet, but I will be masking it. So I think that's what I'll start doing now. Is I'll start adding some mask on there, starting with a linear mask coming from the bottom. I'm gonna bring it up to about there. I'm gonna drop the exposure to right about there. And then I'm gonna bring up the clarity just a little bit, maybe right about there. 24. That looks good. That way it doesn't completely black it out. It still gives it a little bit of like texture. I brought down the texture to negative 32 just to kind of give it a blur effect a little bit. That way we're trying to take the focus off of the initial waterfall here and bring it into the subject here, which I'm gonna see if I can use the AI subject selection, which I can. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does, and it looks like it worked pretty good. Yeah, it selected the whole subject. All right, so I'm just boosting the shadows a little bit, and I'm gonna come down. I'm gonna bump the clarity up a little, not that much. Jeez. I'm gonna bring down the texture. Alright, so after tweaking them a little bit, this is what I got. I got negative 12 texture, I got 17 clarity, and then I just brought the dehaze back to 0. And it's very subtle, but those are the effects. Personally, I like to use clarity to add a little bit richer highlights. When I'm doing portraits, I find that clarity, when you bring clarity up, it tends to pop the highlights a little bit more, making them more contrasty. And that's not for everyone, but for the type of style that I like, it suits my style. And then the texture I bring down just so it doesn't make the skin look too bumpy. Since when you boost clarity too much, it can really define the skin. Alright, next up what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a linear gradient down at the top. And then I'm just going to subtract the subject here. I'm going to subtract the entire person. So now it should be subtracted from the linear gradient. The only thing I'm really going to do here is add in a little bit of dehaze. So we get some like fogginess up here. So I'll probably bring it down to maybe like, I would say like 50. And then what I'll do is I'll come up here and then I'm going to bring shadows down to about 60. And then I'm also going to bring the highlights down to about 40. So that is the result that that gives. Just gives it like a nice subtle glow. And then if you want to add in a little bit of warmth, I'll probably add in a little subtle warmth here. Too much warmth. So I'll back it down to about 11 there. Maybe just a little bit more. Kind of match the warmth of the background. There we go. That's a little bit better. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to actually start doing some more stuff with the subject here with individual brushes. So on the left side of the subject here, face is still a little dark for my liking. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to grab a shadow boosting brush. I'm just going to go over this a few times. Okay, so after adding in all the mask to brighten up the left side of the face, this is the before and this is the after. So we brighten up that left side of the face a ton, bring in a lot of more detail. So now you can see that whole face. Now from now, what I'll start doing is I'll do the rest of the body, brightening up the highlights, and also I'll Probably darken some of the shadows as well, just to add more contrast to the rest of the subject. What I actually like to do is I like to compress the highlights. So I'll start with here, then I'll just compress them. And overall what that does is it just, when you compress them, it kind of expands the highlights so they're not just focused into one central area. And you'll see as I'm working down to the hand here what I'm talking about. You see it kind of works on everything else here. Alright, so here's the before I compressed the highlights, and there's the after. So you could tell it's very subtle, but it brightened it up quite a bit. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to boost some of these shadows, just so it gives a little bit more depth to the subject. So get in here, boost some of these shadows, boost a little bit in here. Don't got to do a whole lot, just a little bit. Really just in the darker areas, that's all. Right around here should be a good area to get it. So again, the changes are very subtle, but here's the before and there's the after. The main differences you're going to see are in like the very dark areas, so the underneath of the leg there. That's about it. So as of right now, that's the majority of the changes I'm going to make to the subject. Now I'm going to start focusing a lot on the background. First thing I want to do is get rid of this algae in the water. So I'm going to try and touch that up. You just come over here, grab a brush, and color this in. We're going to probably have to do this in segments. So I'll do this part first. I don't know if it will get that part over there, because this part over here might be a little bit too dark. But what I'm going to do is turn off the mask, pull it down just a tad. Then we're going to boost up the whites. And as you can see, the middle is starting to blend in a little bit, but the corners are starting to, they're still there. So we might have to mask them separately. Alright, so I'm gonna mask the corners over here. The left corner I'm gonna mask separately. So let's get that left corner. Since that's the darkest part, we'll mask that separate from the middle. Alright, so here's the before the touch-ups with the algae. And then here's after the touch-ups with the algae. So all I basically did was I just turned down the saturation a little bit, and then I decreased the texture and turned up the highlights, and then I just brushed over the spots with the algae, and that got rid of it for the most part. If you really focus on the areas where it was, yeah, you might be able to notice a difference, but that's not the focus point of the photo. So for the most part, it's not going to catch your eye. Now moving on, what I am going to do is I'm actually going to detail the water a little bit. So I'm just going to run over with a detailed brush, just like this. I'm going to turn up the density a little bit, and then give this water a little bit more texture. That way it does pop out a little bit. It's not like so flat. So here we go. Just a little bit more texture in the back there. Then it should pop out, and then that is the before, that is the after. So nothing too crazy. We could probably do the edges a little bit better. Just like that. Alright, next up, what I am going to do is I'm actually going to put a radial gradient on this side wall of the waterfall here, just to add a little bit more depth to the picture. So the only thing I'm really going to do here is I'm going to increase the exposure of it. Maybe boost the shadows just a tiny bit, and the clarity and the texture decent amount. And then I'm going to add a little bit of warmth, just a little bit. There we go. Then let's see. Yeah, I could decrease this just a tad. But overall, this is the effect I gave. Just adds a very subtle depth to it. And then to increase that a little bit more, what I'll do is I'll take a detail brush. So we're going to do a detail brush. We're going to go up into this area right here. And we're just going to go in the areas that have the highlights and not in the shadows. When we get into the shadows, what we're going to do is we're going to decrease the density. Just go up here. We get back up to the highlighted areas. We just go like this. And then 100% right in the middle here. Just like that. And then we back out. That's what that should look like now. We just check. Yeah, look at how much of a difference that gave to that area right there. So we're gonna do the same thing that we did on that side over to the other side, just to, again, give it a little bit more depth. Alright, and after doing the same thing on the left side, that is what that looks like. It just brings a little bit more detail, that side a little bit more depth. And for the before and after, this is what the before and after looks like. That's what the original raw file looks like on the left side, and that's what the edited file looks like on the right side. Overall, I hope you guys enjoyed coming with me to edit this photo, and I will see you guys in the next one.